Hi, my name is David Coatney, and my project's on AT&T and the Bell System companies. So in 1876, telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. A year later, he patented it and formed the Bell Telephone Company. AT&T was created in 1885 and soon became the parent of the Bell Telephone Company. After the patent expired, local telephone companies popped up all over the U.S. And in the early 1900s, AT&T only owned about 50% of the telecommunications industry in the U.S. By 1939, it had bought out most of its competition and owned about 90% of telecommunications in the U.S. Prior to 1970s, the general consensus was that AT&T was better left alone because competition actually rose prices due to duplication of work efforts. In 1974, that changed with the government filing an antitrust suit against AT&T, citing the company used its prominent influence to advance its monopolistic organization. In 1982, AT&T agreed to divest its local phone companies to form 7 separate regional phone companies, better known as the Baby Bells. And AT&T became the main U.S. long-distance phone company. Pacific Bell became the main local phone company for the West Coast and where I worked in the 90s. The company was mechanistic, very vertically structured, had rules and regulations for everything. The day I interviewed, there was about 50 other people that showed up for interviews. They started out by giving us a series of tests, and by the end of the day, there was only a few of us that actually got hired. That's certainly not to say that we were smarter than everyone else. Actually, the best thing you could do to prepare for this test was to get a good night's sleep. The company just wanted people they could train and follow rules. Pacific Bell was very much into scientific management. Technicians' training period was about 6 months. It started with a few weeks of classroom training and then on-the-job training. Then sometime during the first few months, they would go to pole climbing school. The company trained their workers for every aspect of their jobs, down to how to splice wire, hang cable, safety procedures, and even defensive driving techniques. This is a very simplified version of an organizational chart. On the left-hand side, you can see the VP of Services. Under them, third-line managers who manage the second-line managers. The second-line managers manage the first-line managers. And there was about 15 to 20 workers that worked for each first-line manager. So it was very, very vertical. Also in the late 90s, Southwestern Bell, otherwise known as SBC, bought out Pacific Bell, and then in 2005 SBC bought out AT&T and took over AT&T's name. So now AT&T has come full circle again, owns a large majority of the US wired telephone services, only now technology has advanced so much that the telecommunications industry is largely cellular, and AT&T is not the leader anymore. The company's structure dimensions are very formalized with documentation for procedures, job descriptions, regulation, and policy. Job specialization, so everyone does their work a specific way. Hierarchy of authority is very vertically high with complex levels, and key decisions are made at the top. According to the textbook, organizational elements are everything outside the boundaries of an organization. The government tries to control industry practices. Bad weather creates problems and causes labor costs to increase. Unions make demands, technology is always changing, and economic conditions are always changing too. Environment uncertainty is measured by dynamism and complexity. Dynamism determines if the environment is stable or unstable, and complexity is determined by the amount of external elements. This chart is a simplified version of the chart in the textbook. As you can see, AT&T's environment is very unstable and complex, making the industry highly uncertain. AT&T's future might be highly uncertain, but the company has diversified as technology changes. It is still a leader in wired telephone services. It offers internet, voice over IP, digital television services, and it's one of the top revenue producing cellular companies in the US. I don't think they're going anywhere. And that's it. Thank you.